I.CARE.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Florida Bay Forever, for giving me the opportunity to speak to you all. I'm not really versed on all of the things that Representative Mooney was talking about, but I'm here representing a reef restoration group based here in Isla Morada. Some of you know of us, some of you may not. So before I get into showing you some of the results of our work and images of the successes that we're having on the reef, let me just talk a little bit about who we are real quickly. We are a group that empowers recreational divers to rebuild our coral reefs. Over 90% of all the corals and sponges that we've put down on the reef for the last 5 years have been at the hands of recreational divers. So what do? We partner with local shops. We partner with Key Dive, with Concord Public Divers, with Monroe, to teach, to train their divers, to train and educate local students, the local community on reef restoration. We have been doing this now for almost 7 years. We also monitor 100% of every fragment, every sponge we put down. We monitor them at 1 week, 1 month, 90 days, 1, 2, and 3 years. We can tell you where every fragment we put. We can tell you the health status of everything we put down. We also take weekly trips out and we maintain everything we put down. We scrub competitive algae. We remove predators, yellow-footed snails, fireworms. We just did that 3 nights ago. Pulled off a whole bunch of fireworms off the reef that predate on staghorn coral. We also perform surveys. We do invert surveys before we start our restoration work, fish surveys before we begin our restoration work, and throughout the entire process, so we can monitor the habitat changes on the reef as we rebuild the reef. I'm not going to get in too much about the bleaching event in 2023. You're not a resident here if you don't know what happened in 2023. We all know. It was a brutal time, and the bleaching temperature was 87 degrees. Started in early June and persisted through September into early October, which, as we know, is 60 to 75 days longer than any other bleaching period we've ever experienced. But without getting into all the details of that, and what coral bleaching is and all of that, there is some amazing news that comes from that. The corals that we have that are alive today, those are some tough buggers, right? They survived the worst bleaching event in our history. They survived stony coral tissue loss disease. And those corals that are alive today form the basis of our coral propagation. That is what we are using to rebuild our coral reefs. Those are the most resilient, tough corals that we know. And think about what happened just this past summer. We were at 87 degrees, which is bleaching temperature. If you were to take what happened this summer and lay that onto 1995, you would have had a mass bleaching event. We didn't have that this summer. We did not have a mass bleaching event. We had a very, very mild bleaching experience with the corals fully recovering. The corals that are alive today are resilient. That's why we didn't have that problem this summer. All right? So let me give you some statistics on what we do. We put our first coral down on the reef in 2021, and Sarah, wherever you are, you were with me on that day, so thank you. And actually, Allison, wherever you are here, she was a great supporter of us at the very beginning. Wouldn't be here if it wasn't without some of her guidance. And we have now trained over. Thank you. It's getting old. We've trained over 4,800 so far. We've outplanted a little over 25,000 corals. We work on sites from Alligator all the way up to the Elbow in Key Largo. We have deep, shallow, in between. And importantly, our survival at 1 year intervals is at 47%. That includes 2023 bleaching event. So if you were to eliminate that, our survival rate goes even higher. And it's even improving a little. We're focused on corals now that survive 2023. So here's some examples of corals that we put out. That's day of. Those are actually elkhorn coral. You wouldn't believe it. They're really dark because they have a high lipid count because they were in an onshore nursery. But after about a month, you can see that they develop that normal caramel color. And then 1 year, they're living their happy, best life. You can go out to Alligator Reef today, and you will find dozens of these thriving as we speak. Staghorn coral, boy, was that the poster child, or was that the poster child for restoration? And it took it on the chin in 2023, but there was still survivors. Crazy enough, you can swim through, some of you may know who Ken Niedermeyer is, you can swim through his nursery during 23, and there would be a tree of staghorn coral, completely white, dead, and right next to it, you wouldn't think anything happened because there's other tree living perfectly. Resilient genotype. So without getting into the weeds about all that, we have some tough corals out there. So on the left you have day of. We use basic cement, that is Portland cement, and you can see what it looks like 1 year later. We have dozens of these examples throughout the Upper Keys. We're working with 17 different species of coral. So this is just some examples of corals that we're putting out. This is what they look like on our bowler corals. We put them out in puck form. I think that's a brain coral. I can't tell you what it is in this far. My vision's not good enough, but that's a great star coral in the middle and a mountainous star coral on the right. And that is a knobby brain coral day of. And that's what it looks like 3 years out. That's almost a year old, that image. I was just doing that about a month ago. And that is almost completely fused. I would guess in about another year that will be spawning and creating more coral. Kind of the goal in what we do, right? We want our corals to make more coral. We're also involved with sponge restoration. This program is led by Dr. Bobby Renbrew, who's here tonight. So she'll correct me when I make mistakes, I'm sure. It is the world's only and first reef sponge restoration program. We rear them in the nursery in various ways, and we put these out every single month with recreational divers. We monitor them just like we do our corals, same intervals, and we have planted thousands of these sponges, and our survival rate is in excess of 70%. So, what do sponges do for the reef? They stabilize the reef. They stabilize the substrate. They act as glue for corals. You can see right here that purple rope sponge is interlaced with that staghorn coral. There's an obvious symbiosis there. They filter water. I love this statistic. A roughly tennis-sized sponge, tennis ball-sized sponge, filters 1.5 gallons of water a minute. Let's think about that. So they provide food, right? You see your angelfish pecking away at them, foxhole turtles, and of course it's a living hotel for thousands of organisms. I don't know if you can see this. This is maybe a little bit small, but that's a red rope sponge that is attached to some coral rubble. This is what it looks like on day of. There's a couple of very, very small cable ties that secure that sponge to the coral rubble. and Dr. Bobby Renfro, he's the one that created this entire concept of outplanting, and then we use epoxy on the rubble, and you can see down below, it says, I think that says 12.3 centimeters squared. Yeah? Okay.
Cool.
Cube. I can't see that. And this is 2 years later, and it is tenfold in volume. No longer can you see the coral rubble. There's no longer a cable tie that you can remove. And this is one species that we work with. Next. This is a purple rope sponge. That's about 12 centimeters long at the top. And 2 years on the bottom right, you wouldn't even know that was put down by us. We can't tell half the time. If it wasn't for the identifying tags that we have to put down next to them, we wouldn't even know. So that's some images from our work that we've been doing for the last 5 years, and I thank you for the time to present to you this evening.